What it do, cucks? It's your boy the Hater Outdoors. I'm back in my old hood, walking around in the sun. The sun's a little bit covered, but you know, it's an opportunity to tell everybody that it is very important that you go out in the sun a couple of minutes a day at least. You know, in these times, a lot of us work from the indoors. A lot of us hang out indoors. A lot of us never touch grass, you know, and a lot of us never see the sun, you know. That's actually another thing you're supposed to do. I don't do this, but you're supposed to like literally touch grass with bare feet, right? The stimulation of the grass on the feet is normal, and it's predicated upon literally millions of years of evolution. So there you have it, you know. That's neither here nor there. The point is, get some sun, cucks. That's your daily advice. Now it's time for the first video of 2 today. I don't know if I'm gonna watch Raw and review it tonight. I probably will, because I haven't watched Raw or SmackDown in like a week. But worst case scenario, you're getting the Raw review tomorrow, cucks. But expect a video tonight anyways, up in this mug. Today's video is about the return of Ron Killings, right? For those that don't know, R-Truth's real name is Ron Killings, which obviously is an awesome name, right? Like, if your name is Ron Killings, they shouldn't change your name, because it's fucking Ron Killings. It's a cool name, you know what I mean? There's some names that are cool and some names that aren't, you know? Like, for example, if you're, you know, Kenneth Anderson, you're gonna be Mr. Kennedy or Ken Kennedy, because Kenneth Anderson sounds like a guy that works for Progressive and tries to sell you car insurance, right? But if your name is Ron Killings, that just sounds like a badass name, you know what I mean? So it's good that they're going to the Ron Killings thing. Now, the best part about this, of course, is that hopefully now, because he's Ron Killings, not R-Truth, he's also no longer retarded, right? Because obviously the R in R-Truth stands for retarded truth. You know what I'm saying? So Ron Killings is a step in the right direction. However, motherfucks, think about what the fuck is happening here, right? And quite frankly, this video really isn't about Ron Killings. It's about Triple H, you know, and maybe Lee Fitting, right? It's about WWE creative not knowing what the fuck it is they're doing. First, they fire this guy. They see nothing in him, right? Justifiably so, because they've turned him into a retard. Now that he's retarded, all of a sudden, like, this is just bullshit. This is like gaslight nonsense, right? Everyone all of a sudden is like, oh, R-Truth is important for like locker room morale. What the fuck are you talking about, locker room morale? Shut the fuck up. Go out there and do your job, you know what I mean? There's nothing more annoying than like normal ass shit being treated as if it's like this back-breaking, you know, work, right? You have an easy job, comparatively speaking. You know, you ain't a roofer, you know, going out there roofing like a motherfucker in the middle of summer. You know, have you ever cleaned an entire house? You know what I mean? That's back-breaking work. There's women that do that every day, motherfucker. And the hater, I ain't complaining, because the hater's got like a desk job. I mean, an internet job, basically, right? I work for myself, but I can do whatever I want. I can do it wherever I want. So I'm not complaining, but the hater knows hard work, motherfucks. The hater has made sure that even though the hater is very well educated, that he has experienced hard work, so I can appreciate hard work. And wrestling is not hard work in that context, right? It is not demoralizing work. You get to travel the world, right, with a bunch of people that are like you, a bunch of your friends, and now locker room morale, and you fucking need R-Truth to get you through the day? What kind of a pussy-ass motherfucker do you have to be to wake up and be like, oh, I was gonna quit today, but R-Truth was there. He made a joke about little Jimmy, and that kept me going. Shut the fuck up. Get a therapist if you're on the verge of like existential crisis. You know what I mean? Fuck out of here with that shit. All of a sudden, this gaslighting around R-Truth, which in my opinion speaks to Triple H as a individual as well. This gaslighting is turning into something that's a little bit uncomfortable, right? Like, it's basically like WWE looks like so fucking retarded. Like, Triple H looks like the biggest dipshit of all time, because this has never happened before, right? A wrestler has never been fired and then immediately brought back and immediately basically received the greatest push of his career. This is going to be R-Truth's greatest push. Now, I know that's not saying much, because he's had 0 pushes in the WWE, so this might be a push to the mid-card, right? But it's cool, right? It's a push in the right direction for R-Truth. The problem, of course, is he's 53. So it's like, what are you going to do with this shit, right? This is just a very, very poor decision. You know, you could have kept him around without firing him. You could have fired him and stuck with that. But they did the absolute worst thing they could have done. They fired him, right? Went back on their decision like pussies. Then they brought him back. And now all of a sudden, Ron Killings is like somehow inserted into the main event. I mean, one way or another, he must be, right? Like a name change, he attacked Cena, etc. Keep in mind, motherfucks, let's not get it twisted. Let's not forget what exactly is happening here, right? We are in a weird place. R-Truth, fundamentally, like his insertion into the Cena situation, right? And also everything that has to do with him being rehired, right? Which, you know, it is to his credit, right? Because R-Truth is like good at what he does in many ways, right? So for example, when R-Truth started doing Cena's moves, that was cool, right? Because it's like, oh, like Cena's not here to do these moves, so R-Truth will do it for Cena, right? You know, like it keeps the moves in WWE 2K, if you will, you know what I mean? So it's kind of nice. But at the same time, it's like, it's not a good gimmick, right? Because it's predicated on him being retarded. So retarded Truth, like he starts doing Cena moves, he becomes more retarded, and he starts thinking to himself, oh, I'm like Cena's biggest fan, and I grew up watching Cena. The entire humor is that he's like almost 10 years old, or like 5 years older than Cena, right? So that's why it's funny, quote unquote, right? But think about what's happened here. Like due to Triple H's dumbass errors, right? Now, the storyline of there's a guy on the roster who is retarded, and he thinks he's like a fan of John Cena's, right? This guy now, like, has stopped being retarded, and now he's an actual competitor who's taking it seriously. But the entire reason why he's involved in this Cena situation was because when he was retarded, he came and he screwed Randy Orton, right? He came and he screwed Randy Orton, and now, like, he's a normal guy again. But I will say this, motherfucks, you know, like, I try to be fair on this channel, and even though I think Triple H is doing an abysmal job, the fact of the matter is, like, better late than never. The hater is a big proponent on better late than ever. So maybe there's something here, right? It's a shame that this is happening when R-Truth is in his 50s, but I never understood, and I pointed this out several videos ago, why, like, R-Truth didn't come back as Ron Killings, right? He left TNA as Ron Killings, and it's like they reverted him back to being K-Quick, right? Like R-Truth is just like a, you know, slightly more grown-up version of the name K-Quick, right? It's just as retarded, it's just as stupid, right? Like R-Truth is cringe in a lot of ways, you know? It's a cringe name. Now, the name stuck because he's been using it for like 1,000 years, but nevertheless, it's not a good name, right? So, whereas he actually has a good name, you know? It's the strangest thing. It's like you take someone with like that has a naturally good name and you like switch their name to something dumber, you know? There's some people that just have cool sounding names, right? Like Conor McGregor, that just sounds like a badass name, right? But Ronda Rousey doesn't sound like a badass name. Ronda Rousey sounds like someone who works at the dentist's office as a secretary. You know what I mean? So those people give them new names. But anyways, it's not here nor there. The fact is, Triple H seems to have listened to at least people like me who have said that there's no need for R-Truth to be presented as a retard. So that's good, right? But the timing of it is terrible because it would be different if you realized this, for example, a year ago when he got in the company, right? And he was the one who was like, you know, the Paul Levesque era is starting. And he said, all right, look, R-Truth, this guy's been treated like a retard for far too long. We're going to push him. Karrion Kross, we're going to push him. Whatever the case may be, right? If he shuffled the deck. But so far, he's done none of those things. He's just done exactly what Vince was doing, right? And now he went so far as to fire R-Truth. Now, if you're going to fire this bitch ass, right? And you're going to hire him again, now you're like, oh, wait a second. Not only did I make a mistake, this is why Triple H sucks, right? He's like, not only did I make a mistake in firing him, which is already like, you know, a massive mistake if you are the guy who's in charge of people's jobs, but my mistake was so severe that instead of firing him, I should have pushed him and given him an opportunity to beat Ron Killings. What? You know what I'm saying? Like, you see how stupid that is? Like, it goes to show that Triple H basically misjudged a wrestler's worth by, like, the entire spectrum, you know? This person who should have been, like, a star, he fired. Then he brought him back and made him a star. Like, how bad do you have to be at your job to do this? This would be the equivalent of someone saying, hey, can you solve this basic, arithmetic equation? 1 + 1 = what, right? And you write 10,000, like a dipshit, right? And you're like, well, wait a second, I was wrong. I was off by 9,998, motherfuck, you know? And that's exactly what happened here. He was off by so much that it's just really embarrassing. It shows how bad he is at his job, you know? And that's something that like a lot of people just kind of like coast by, but being this bad at one's job is inexcusable, motherfuck. So with that being said, I'm happy that R-Truth is back. I mean, even if he gets like a 1-year run for 50 grand or whatever the fuck they're paying him to be Ron Killings, good for him. I ain't got nothing against that. I've always liked R-Truth. I've always liked Ron Killings, to be fair, right? But the reality is, the way that it was done, it's like, it's basically set up for failure, right? Like, if R-Truth becomes, let's just say that this thing goes to its like most absurd conclusion. Let's say R-Truth becomes the WWE champion, right? Like, that's retarded. He was fired, meaning that he wasn't good enough to even be in the company, and now he's gonna be WWE champion, right? Or imagine if he becomes Ron Killings, and then that doesn't work out, which is probably what's gonna happen, and he, you know, becomes retarded again down the line, and that's it, right? He becomes R-Truth one more time, he says what's up a few more times, and gets fired for real, right? Then the question would be, why did you do all this? Well, the answer is, because Triple H and whoever else is in charge of this kind of bull doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. It's as simple as that. Cucks.